Brooks Koepka, who has played the week before all of his major wins and tended to play somewhere between decent and great golf in those tournaments right before those major victories. He finished tied for 37th prior to winning back at the 2017 U.S. Open, T30 prior to capturing the 2018 U.S. Open, 5th the week before victory at the 2018 PGA Championship, and most recently 4th before getting the victory at the 2019 PGA Championship. So for more on the four-time major champ, let's get you back to Anna Whiteley.
Thanks, LT. Okay, Robert Dameron, Paige McKenzie, let's talk Brooks Koepka, because it is the week before a major championship. Brooks Koepka has infamously been synonymous with major championships, but we can see there his results are a little up and down the week before heading into these huge events. What do you reckon? The state that Brooks Koepka is in right now, is he the kind of guy who needs reps going into the Masters, or can he just flip a switch the moment he drives down Magnolia Lane?
Everyone needs reps to a degree. I mean, there are some players that don't need as much as others, but everyone needs some, and he's really had none. I would say that it wouldn't concern me much him taking time off, because really his strength is his mind, especially when it gets into the biggest events. He doesn't have that choke factor. The bigger the stakes, the more he shines. But he's been playing such lousy golf in the past year or so that I do think he needs reps. And I think not just reps, not just hitting shots, but some decent positive stuff. Now, on top of feeling good this week, let's just assume that his body's good. If it's not, just go ahead and count Magnolia Lane out. But if he's feeling good, he does need something positive at Houston to feel like, and it give me a feeling that he's going to be in contention at Augusta.
Yeah, Robert, health is definitely number one. And what we have seen from Brooks Koepka so far in 2020 is that when he wasn't playing well, he did add to the schedule to get those reps. In fact, we go back to Memorial. That was never originally on his schedule. And yes, he did have to miss an event because his caddy tested positive earlier in the month. But he did add it to get those reps. And this is what he said after he added the event. He said, you've got to play your way into it. When you don't have the results you want, you've got to go out there and find it. It's not like you're just going to sit at home and it's going to magically, I'm assuming, appear. You've got to get the work in, put the reps in, and it'll show eventually. So we know his mindset as it relates to preparation. He really feels like reps are the most important thing in preparing for a major championship. So I'm sure he's got a lot of weight on this week as well as looking forward to next week.
I mean, you both said it. Health is crucial for Brooks Koepka this week and going forward. He's been hampered with the hip injuries, with the knee injuries. And I kind of get the sense that 2020 could potentially be beginning to change our perspective on just how invincible Brooks Koepka is, because up until this point, he's been the man who's been calling players out, who's been backing it up with major championship wins, who's been breaking records, comparing himself to Tiger Woods when it comes to records. I mean, no one could stop him. He couldn't be intimidated, and he intimidated everybody else. But this year, it's been a different story, Robert, and I wonder whether he's become a little bit more human in our eyes and in players' eyes as well. Is he the intimidating Brooks Koepka that he was hailed to be as he entered the year as world number one?
He wasn't until you just said that very sentence. Let's not forget, yes, he's been playing bad. Yes, he doesn't seem like one of the favorites going into Augusta, but he thrives. Let's not forget, he thrives off being slighted. He thrives off being left out of the press conferences or the conversation as favorites to go into certain tournaments. He lives to prove sports golf media and other players and the fans wrong that when they think bad things about him. So I agree with what you're saying. I don't feel like he's one of the favorites going in. I do feel like I have to see something. But does that make him more dangerous? Yes, it does. That's just the way he's operated so far. So maybe we should keep saying it and then put some bets on him going into Augusta.
Maybe we should, Paige. Has this year sort of changed your perspective on Brooks Koepka at all in terms of his intimidation factor and the withdrawals and the bad results and his sort of negative talk that he's had about himself this year?
A little bit. The injuries have always been in the back of my mind because he did struggle with injuries in previous years. So there was some vulnerability there. What was striking to me earlier this season was when he was playing poorly, he was very honest about it. I think in the past we had seen a lot of saving face in speaking positively if he wasn't playing well a little bit more, but there was a very much truth and honesty about where he was at within his game. And so that came through earlier in the season, but I like Robert, see him as a little bit of a superhuman when it does come to these big moments. I don't think any of that changes what we do know about him, is that he does love to step up in the biggest moments. He's unafraid. He's not failed when he's been put in those situations where you would expect somebody early in their career to be trying to stumble through to their first major championship. It's been the complete opposite. He's managed to perform his best at the highest levels. So yeah, sure, maybe there was a little bit of a different talk for Brooks Koepka, but it has not changed my overall view of Brooks and how he can perform in the biggest moments.
I mean, you're right, Paige. Brooks is wired completely differently to the average golfer. I mean, the self-belief, the self-hype, the self-talk he just oozes confidence, and the honesty is very revealing. I mean, you mentioned it, the vulnerability that we saw from him this year. I think it was after the Arnold Palmer Invitational. He just said, everything is off. I can't score. I can't play golf. It's tough to be aggressive, lack of confidence, doesn't trust his game. Now, he entered 2020 as world number 1. He's now slipped down to world number 12 in the rankings. How close do you think he is to becoming that player that he was at the beginning of the year?
I think it's only one good week away. Because do think about, not only was he dealing with injury, but then he also was dealing with the fact that his caddy then tested positive. He was changing different caddies. He was adding events to his schedule. He was playing events that maybe weren't originally planned in his schedule when he came back out of COVID break. So I do think there was a level of discomfort, or at least not security in how he was planning and setting his schedule since March. Since the COVID break. So I'm not going to go all in on the fact that I'm concerned on Brooks Koepka, because there was some extenuating circumstances in how he was performing in the last couple of months of the season.
I think Paige is right. He is one good week away, but not this week. It's got to be a big one. It's got to be one of the majors, the Players, the FedEx Cup, which is now down the line. So what are we looking at? The Masters. It kind of has to be the Masters for me to think, he is going to be that guy again going into the next set of major championships. But he just hasn't shown enough form. And
what about this week, though? What does he have to do to show that to you? Or does it matter?
Good, solid play. It doesn't have to be anything great. It has to be confidence. It could be a 20th place. We saw some of the finishes he had before wins. Some were good. Some were 30th and 35th place. So I want to see a confident, healthy guy. I want to see him not fall apart in spots, because even he went in a lot of stretches where he played good golf and then lost it somewhere in the tournament. Even the PGA, he had a chance there, played really poorly at the end. He played a couple great rounds at Hilton Head coming back, but he's not putting it together. Good runs at Workday and couldn't put it together. So it's really, I think, a consistent building in the 4 rounds maybe would make me feel like, he's got a good chance at Augusta.
Well, I like wanting to see a lot of good things, but I also want to hear a lot of good things from Brooks Koepka. That is, like I said, the one thing that we did learn about him in 2020 is his honesty, good or bad. And we did hear from him after Hilton Head that great week that he performed well, but then again had to withdraw from Travelers. But we were starting to hear the difference. So for me, I'm going to watch what Brooks Koepka is doing this week, but I'm also going to listen to what he says about his own game.
Whether it's about himself, whether it's about Bryson DeChambeau, Dustin Johnson, Brooks Koepka will always speak the truth. It hasn't been the year that he has been after. He hasn't had the results in majors that he's been after or across the PGA Tour. And he's going to be working so incredibly hard to find himself coming into next week at the Masters, as he teased it up this week at the Houston Open to hopefully warm things up.